a-hole for not letting my wife hijack a free vacation. One of my 39 male hobbies is entering raffles, sweepstakes, radio contests, etc. I've won tickets to concerts, sporting events, some household items, gift cards, but never a grand prize like a car or vacation. I've never tried to win anything like that because I just feel like there's such a small chance. But maybe everybody else feels that way and they're not actually entering things, which would increase the likelihood of winning. Until last month when I won a free trip for 4 to Florida for 5 nights. Obviously, I was super excited and I told my wife, 38 female, about it right away. After our initial excitement wore off and we started talking about details, it became apparent that we had conflicting ideas about this trip. Before I could even make suggestions about what I want this trip to be, my wife brought up how excited her 11-year-old daughter would be and how we could go to Disney, SeaWorld, etc. She then said we can bring her mom to help watch her daughter so that we could have some time for ourselves. Oh, okay. I mean, it's a suggestion, but you don't have to take that suggestion if that's not what you want to do. Not everybody wants to hang out with their mother-in-law. She was so excited about it and was getting wrapped up in planning things without even hearing what I wanted. I told her, all of that sounds fun, but I was thinking we can invite another couple and have it be an adult-only trip instead of bringing my stepdaughter and mother-in-law with. I mean, it is your trip. Like, maybe we could have also included the daughter in the planning, but at the end of the day, it is something that you won, not something that she won. She did not like my idea one bit and told me that she wouldn't feel right taking a free trip like that and leaving her daughter behind. I guess that's also fair. She said that her mom has never been to Florida and this would be a perfect opportunity for her to go there. We argued back and forth a little bit before deciding to take a break and come back to it before telling anyone about it. It is interesting that instead of wanting to take your family, you kind of wanted to take another couple. Maybe you just really needed, you know, an adult trip, not necessarily a trip that's about someone else's kid who's also kind of your kid, but I digress. Well, that lasted about 24 hours before my wife let it slip to her daughter that I had won a trip. Oh no. Right, so now you can't say no without telling the daughter, right? So of course, stepdaughter immediately got excited about it and started looking into all the things she wants to do. Ooh. I asked my wife why she told her daughter, and she said it was an accident, which, come on. It started a fight between us and emotions got a little high. I told her she was wrong to bring her daughter into this after we agreed to wait, and that I never agreed to take stepdaughter or mother-in-law on this trip. I told her I was the one who won the trip and she was acting like this was something specifically for her. Yeah, it's the entitlement for me. It's a little entitled, what the wife is doing. She told me I was being selfish and that we should include those closest to us in something like this, especially whether neither stepdaughter or mother-in-law have been to Florida. She said that bringing another couple and leaving her daughter home would be cruel, especially now that she's so excited about it. Ah, there it is. There it is. How convenient. I told her that her daughter is only excited about it because she decided to blab about it instead of waiting like we had agreed. I told her if she wants to bring her daughter and mother-in-law, then she can pick someone else to go with because I would rather stay home by myself than go on a vacation where I don't get to be involved in any of the decisions. I said that if she wants to go that route, she certainly can, but I'm not paying for any of it. Now she thinks I'm being a jerk and should be happy about having a free family trip. You're not a jerk because you don't want to pay for that. Edit, the trip is to Fort Myers, not Orlando. I think that's like a 3-hour drive. You're closer to Naples than you are to Orlando. Hey, if you end up going, make sure you check out the Blue Martini. Shit is lit on a Saturday night. I think maybe a way to kind of cool the jets a little bit is if you want an adult-only trip with your wife, you take an adult-only trip, and then maybe, you know, down the line, you can plan a trip to Disney World with your stepdaughter and your mother-in-law. It's your trip at the end of the day, and you're deciding what you want to do with it. Not the a-hole. While I see both sides of the coin, what it comes down to is that you won the trip. You should get to decide how it's used. And I think your wife's insistence on controlling this and her judgment of you for not having the same vision of the trip are really unfair. I agree. That makes a lot of sense. I think that if she wants to plan a trip like that, then maybe she should try and enter a contest or maybe save up for that sort of thing. It's not like it's a never thing. It's not like you can never go to Florida. It's just like for this particular trip, maybe the husband kind of wants it to be, you know, a little bit of a break instead of a trip to Disney World where the mother-in-law is there and it's more about the child than it is about you. Because that's what happens, right? If you're going to Disney World, granted, I love Disney World as an adult, but like if that's not the vibe, it's not the vibe. You aren't a bad person or a bad stepfather for wanting to take an adult trip. Lots of couples do this. It's not cool of her to act like you're crappy for having another idea. I mean, she should have heard you out before she decided what she wanted to do with that trip. It can be a collaborative thing, but at the end of the day, it's not her trip. And I agree with you, it was especially out of line for her to tell her daughter, accidentally or not, about the trip, because she knew that would make it harder on you. Really not cool. It's not an accident. It's a little manipulative. The other thing that stands out to me is how you initially only refer to your stepdaughter as your wife's daughter. And I noticed that too, which is why I was like, that's interesting choice of words. I don't know if it's your child. Like, maybe you could be kind of considering that, at least for the future. She clearly thinks of her daughter first in these scenarios, and maybe you don't, right? Probably because it's not your child. I'm sure if you had a child, you would think of them first. Interesting that you chose her daughter as a way to describe it. Yeah, and there's a lot of people in this Reddit thread that are kind of like saying it's kind of weird that you're marrying someone and your initial thought is not to include the daughter when you're making like trip plans. It's going to be hard for you to find a way to put up your daughter while you're away. You're going to have to find a babysitter, et cetera, which is an additional expense. You know, I kind of see both sides of this as well. At the end of the day, though, it is his choice what he wants to do. It's just like whether or not he's being an a-hole. I'm going to leave that up to you. You let me know how you feel.
My fiance is upset with me over how I rejected another man during a night out. My fiance and I are both in our 30s. We've been together for 4 years, getting married in a few months. I totally adore him, and I think we have a good relationship overall. We go out a lot because we both love music. We have a great community of friends, and we see them pretty often at shows. We were at a show last night, and I was standing with a girlfriend while my fiance was outside with a few guys. For context, I was very much a weird girl in high school, but from my mid-20s on, I'd say I'm pretty conventionally attractive. On an average night out to hear music, I generally get approached or hear passing comments from men 3 to 5 times. Frankly, I'm 33, and it's not something I find very fun or enjoyable anymore. When men are polite about it, I am too, and polite dudes usually take my gentle rejection well, and so that's not an issue, usually. However, that was not the case last night. A guy approached my friend and pointed at me saying something I couldn't hear. My friend shakes her head at him and says, no. He seemingly not willing to take the hint, comes over to me and says, quote, my friend wants your autograph, and points to a guy over by the bar. I laugh because what the fuck? I said, what? And he repeated himself. My friend wants your autograph because you're very pretty. I said, no thanks, I'm good. He asked a third time. My internal polite response clock had run out. I said, okay, $60 cash or Cash App. He looks surprised and then sort of laughs and says, how about we buy you a drink? And I said, price just went up to $100. You still want it? And he shook his head and went back to his friend at the bar. My girlfriend and I had a laugh about what a totally bizarre way to hit on someone that was, and that was that. Later in the night, when we were all together again after the show, my friend told everyone the story. My fiance got really quiet and was kind of standoffish the rest of the night. When we got home, he asked why I hadn't told him about that interaction. Honestly, he has gotten a bit insecure in the past about these things, and we had specifically agreed I would avoid telling him about dudes hitting on me. So I reminded him of that. He was still really quiet and sulky, and eventually I asked him what was going on. He said he didn't like how I handled it. He said it sounded like I was flirting and egging the guy on with my responses. Long story short, we argued about it. We do not see eye to eye on it, and things still kind of feel tense today, but we haven't discussed it further. I understand my fiance struggles with anxiety and can get insecure and worried. I always want to do what I can to support him and remind him I love him, but I don't think I did anything wrong here. Was my response flirty or inappropriate? In my eyes, I was intentionally fucking with a guy who was being pushy and disrespectful, and I'm 100% okay with that.
She can't help it. If she's a pretty girl, guys are going to come up to her. She can't help it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
If there's a guy that's asked more than 2-3 times for a certain thing and she says no and he continues to do it, I think at that point she has every right to do it in whatever way she finds fun. That to me was not flirty at all. To me, that was like it was an asshole move.
To me, it felt like a blatant fuck you. Like,
yeah.
Get away.
I can understand how it can come off as flirtatious hearing the story. Like, why wouldn't you just be like, no, I'm engaged, bye. I'm also the person in the relationship to be like, if you think that crossed the line or came across a certain way, I will never do that again, and I'm sorry that I upset you for that, and I will handle it differently moving forward.
Or I'd be like, just ask for more money next time, baby, and just split it with me.
Yeah, right?
You know what I mean?
$1,000.
$100.
There's the angel and the devil on the shoulders, right? It's the two of you.
Yeah.
Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my girlfriend's plane ticket after she decided to stay longer on her trip without me? So here's the deal. My 28 male girlfriend, 27 female of 2 years, and I planned a 2-week vacation to Italy. I paid for the flights, hotels, everything. Ooh. because I make more than she does and I wanted it to be a stress-free trip for the both of us. Everything was great until the last day when she tells me she wants to stay longer to find herself and think about our relationship without me. She didn't discuss this.
Oh my God.
She didn't discuss this with me beforehand, and it completely blindsided me. I was hurt, and I told her that if she feels that she needs time alone, then she should also be independent financially during this extension of her trip. I said I wouldn't be paying for her return ticket whenever she decides to come back. Now she's upset, calling me unsupportive and selfish. And some of our friends are saying I'm being an a-hole because I left her stranded in a foreign country without financial help. So Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to pay for a new plane ticket home after she chose to extend her trip without any heads up? Okay, so update. Thank you to all the people who responded, especially the early ones who gave me some outside verification of me probably not being the asshole. I don't feel comfortable saying I'm completely blameless here, because you're only getting one side of the story, and I need to take responsibility for my part in this whole thing, such as it is.
I love it.
But I guess I never realized how good my girlfriend was at making me feel like unreasonable shit was normal and rational, and that I was the crazy one. So here's the update. We're both back in America now, and she's packing her shit to go stay with her family for a bit until she can find a new place. Soon after I posted, it was time to go to the airport, so I did, without her. I'm one of those people who arrives really early because I never think I'll get to the gate in time, because everything that could go wrong probably would go wrong. It never does, especially with how I was feeling my luck was going. I don't want to push it. Mm-hmm. I was there for about an hour by myself, mulling things over and talking to my mom. I looked at a couple responses to this post, but I didn't trust that I wouldn't lose it if I started responding, and I definitely didn't want to burst into tears while in the airport. As I was talking to my mom, my girlfriend showed up. I guess she thought I was bluffing, but had a rude awakening when the hotel staff kicked her out of the room because I only paid through the day. I took no small amount of satisfaction in this, not gonna lie. She's been so concerned about the plane ticket that she didn't even stop to think about where she was going to stay.
Oh my, that's...
As many of you have guessed, she met someone while we were in Italy.
Oh no.
We didn't even think about that. We probably should have.
Well, yeah, keep going.
Anytime someone says, I gotta find myself, it's just focus on yourself.
Freaking Paolo,
Yeah.
man.
Like, that's what it
Paolo,
is.
man.
Lizzie and Paolo.
Yeah, that's crazy.
She was quick to tell me that it was just a physical attraction and that they hadn't done anything, but she had his and was wanting to see if it'd go anywhere. I guess that's what I get for not feeling well and wanting to stay in one night while she went out to explore. Obviously, I told her things were over between us.
Night.
Even though she tried to make it sound like nothing had happened, the fact was, A, I couldn't feel like I could trust her when she said that, and B, I don't really want to be with someone who feels like it's okay to still keep her options open when she's been in a monogamous relationship for the past 2 years. The flight home was awkward as and she tried really hard to give another pitch of why we should stay together on the drive home from the airport. I think as we got closer to home, reality started setting in and she realized she'd just thrown a lot away. So yeah, I'm jet lagged and physically and emotionally exhausted. I'm just kind of numb at this point. Finally, I didn't see all the comments as there are about 2.5 thousand at this point, but to the few that were downvoted into oblivion who said that it was fake because I hadn't updated in several hours, fuck you. I was looking for reasonable dissenting opinions that might have helped me make sense of this situation, and you're accusing me of making this up for random internet points. Believe it or not, my priority was not to tell a bunch of strangers on the internet how my world was falling apart around me. I know it's easy to think that these people aren't real and their struggles are meaningless because screens divide us, but ironically, you're the assholes.
My stepdaughter a few months ago started wearing boxers. Just around the house, no big deal and no different than any other lounge shorts she owns. But the past 2 weeks, I've noticed her leaving the house or coming home wearing the boxers. A few nights ago, I told my wife that I found it weird that she's wearing boxers out in public. My wife says it isn't a big deal and she's a teenager going through a phase and a lot of kids her age choose to wear stuff like that out in public. It still bothered me. So this morning when my stepdaughter was downstairs in boxer shorts and a t-shirt, I asked if she's going out in that today. She shrugged and said, probably, why? I said, well, I think you have plenty other short options to wear. She asked what was wrong with what she was wearing. I just said wearing boxer shorts in public makes her look stupid and that she has many other lounge shorts she could wear instead of boxers. Later, when I came home, my wife was furious, asking why I was mean to my stepdaughter. I said I didn't think I was being mean, I was just being truthful, and that those boxers in public weren't a smart decision and she should change when going out.